A groundbreaking new museum chronicling America's history of racial injustice opens tomorrow to the public. The Equal Justice Initiative's A Legacy Museum, from Enslavement to Mass Incarceration, challenges visitors to a national truth-telling. Earlier today, I had a chance to speak with Bryan Stevenson, founder of EJI and the Legacy Museum. Take a listen to our conversation. So, Bryan, tell us about your new Legacy Museum, from enslavement to mass incarceration.
Well, we're really excited about it. We opened the National Memorial in 2018, and hundreds of thousands of people have come to Montgomery to kind of reckon with the legacy of lynching. And now we've expanded and opened the new Legacy Museum. And I want everybody to come. We are able to dig deep into the transatlantic slave trade. We have hundreds of new exhibits, sculpture, art, animations, videos, films that were created for the space. We've had great assistance from talented people like Lupita Nyong'o, who narrates our video on the transatlantic slave trade, and Don Cheadle and Wendell Pierce. And it's an immersive experience. It's first-person narrative. You'll hear the accounts of enslaved people who were dealing with the trauma of enslavement, the words of people who were facing terror, violence, and lynching, the struggles of people who fought to overcome Jim Crow segregation, and first-person narratives for people who've been wrongly convicted in our jails and prisons today. People who've been forced to navigate the challenges of police violence and over-incarceration. And we have a reflection space and a world-class art gallery to inspire people before they leave. I'm super thrilled about opening this space.
So some of our viewers may remember that you opened the museum focused primarily on lynching in America in 2018. How does this museum relate to that? Does it kind of absorb that lynching piece, or is it a separate thing?
Well, there are two different sites. The National Memorial is a 6-acre site that honors thousands of lynching victims and that identifies all of the counties in America where lynchings took place. And we have that very dramatic memorial to kind of do this. The museum is really to provide context. We encourage people to come to the museum first because the lynching experience in this country was predated by the period of enslavement. And you won't really understand lynching until you understand slavery. And what we're able to do with this new space, Charles, is actually to get people mindful of the ways in which slavery was also an institution that was created in the North as well as the South. So Massachusetts was the first state to legalize slavery. The coastal communities in New England, Connecticut, Rhode Island was one of the top 15 trafficking sites in the world in the 18th century. Newport, New York City was a city with the highest number of enslavers of any other colonial city except Charleston. Philadelphia, Baltimore. The wall that names Wall Street was built by enslaved people. Broadway built by enslaved people. We want people to have that history and then understand the domestic slave trade and the tragedy that takes place in this region during the 19th century, when thousands of enslaved people are trafficked here by boat and by land. And then that sets up what happens after the Civil War. We have a whole exhibit on Reconstruction and how Reconstruction becomes a period where white mobs use violence to block enforcement of the 15th Amendment right to vote and the 14th Amendment to equal protection, which then sets up this century of terror, violence, and lynching. And I just think all of it's connected, because you won't appreciate the courage of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin and so many during the Civil Rights era until you appreciate the violence that people faced in their lifetime, the threats that they faced. And then, of course, that codification of racial hierarchy, which is eliminated in most part in the 60s and 70s, continues in terms of practices today. And we just think it all connects in a way. And so we do think of it as a narrative museum. The inspiration for me was the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg, which was really compelling. Holocaust Memorial in Berlin. These are spaces that force communities to reckon honestly with their history. And I don't think we've done enough of that in America, which is why we've created these spaces.
Right. Well, I've been to a number of museums about African American history. It is easier in some ways to relate to the horrors of the civil rights era and even of the lynching era because there's photography.
Yeah.
It is very hard, I find, for people to relate what slavery looked, felt, smelled like.
Yeah.
In any sort of museum exhibit I've ever been in, and it's only really been brought home to me in things that I've read, like first-person account of somebody going onto a slave ship and it just being completely overwhelming. How do you treat enslavement and trying to get across both the resilience of people who survived it, but also the absolute horror of that institution?
It's a terrific question, and you're absolutely right. We have done a very poor job of getting people to understand the inhumanity of enslavement, the suffering. And we do a lot. I mean, the first thing you experience when you walk into our museum is this giant LED screen with this kind of ferocious picture of the Atlantic Ocean. And what people don't realize is that the ocean created this tragic, terrifying journey where millions of abducted and kidnapped Africans were taken away from their families, their home, their lands, their ancestors forever. And we have an exhibit that uses 222 sculptures, and that's how we try to get people to recognize the humanity of the people. We've got these amazing artists, and you walk into a room that's like a beach, and you see these faces and these heads, women and children and men, some in chains, and they're on a shore where the ocean is running underneath of the sculptures, and the loss and the tragedy and the suffering, I think, is made real. We use animations to depict human beings being forced into conditions and circumstances that are just unbearable. We have an exhibit that, again, uses sculpture to dramatize the human form and what it was like to be chained and imprisoned in this way. And I agree with you that until you get to see it, we have an exhibit that uses holograms. We had actors read first-person narratives, the narratives of enslaved people, but they appear as ghosts in pens, and you hear from a woman who's looking for her children. And then you go down the hallway, and then you see the children who are looking for their mother. And we have the language of enslaved people who talk about the cruelty of being sold. And that's what we believe is necessary for people to appreciate the inhumanity of this. We tell stories. Celia, this black woman who was raped by a man who enslaved her for 5 years. And she kept begging the daughter of this man to intervene. He did nothing. And then when she hits him, the man, after he tries to rape her and kills him, she's charged and convicted with murder, sentenced to death, and then hanged. And when you understand that kind of narrative, you begin to relate, I think, to the horrific inhumanity. And yet we have pictures of Harriet Tubman. We talk about the story of struggle and resistance, and that's an important part of the story too.
Bryan Stevenson, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on adding this new part to the American dialogue about race and oppression and slavery and civil rights and the entire thing, the kind of educational piece that you do. I've always said that if there is a superhero among us, it is Bryan Stevenson. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Always good to be with you.